We're talking about northwestern Tanzania, where this earthquake took place. It was magnitude 5.9. Locally, it occurred in the afternoon on Saturday, and we're getting some of the first visuals in from that area to CNN. 11 confirmed fatalities so far. We also have at least 200 injuries that have been reported. But remember, it's very difficult to get information, let alone footage, out of this very remote part of Africa, East Africa, I should say. The depth was 10 kilometers, and again, the magnitude was 5.9. It was just on the shores of Lake Victoria. I'll try and break it down for you so you can see exactly what people across this region have had to deal with over the past 12 hours, let alone the aftershocks that will be felt going forward. We had a population of just over 700,000 people that felt strong shaking, but get a load of this, over 400,000 either felt very strong or severe shaking from this magnitude 5.9. That had a lot to do with the very shallow nature of the earthquake.
The large, deep earthquake with a magnitude of 6.0 jolted northern Peru's Amazon region early Saturday, but there were no immediate reports of damage or injuries. The U.S. Geological Survey said the quake that registered at 5:08 a.m. local time, 1008 GMT, was centered about 30 miles, 50 kilometers, north of the jungle city of Moyobamba. It was located very deep under the ground, about 70 miles, 114 kilometers. Peru's Civilian Defense Agency said it had found no reports of injuries or damage and was continuing to monitor the situation.
Back here in the heartland, many of you have been telling us on our Facebook page that you felt a 3.5 magnitude earthquake that shook parts of western Tennessee earlier today. The quake happened around 8:45 this morning. Preliminary reports show it was centered 6 miles northwest of Tiptonville and 26 miles west of Union City. Lots of people in Porterville say they felt it.
Look at these stories. Superbugs are such a big issue. I mean, it is humanity-ending issue, and more we see that superbugs are basically getting out and killing people. And I know people that own emergency centers and hospitals, and Dr. Group called me and said he's been getting a lot of doctors saying this too. So I just did a quick search and looked at some of this stuff. Look at all the news about superbugs that no one's talking about. Researchers find first U.S. bacteria with worrisome superbug genes, and I mean, that's been found before, but antibiotic-resistant E. coli found in a quarter of chicken products sold at major supermarkets. Vice asks, is supermarket chicken going to kill us all? Rare superbug outbreak in Wisconsin is blamed for 18 deaths.
An outbreak of super gonorrhea in the UK is out of control and efforts to stop it have been unsuccessful, health officials have warned. It is feared the sexually transmitted disease may be becoming increasingly resistant to treatment, prompting concerns further rapid spread could occur. In April, it emerged an outbreak of so-called super gonorrhea had occurred in Leeds, with cases also noted in the West Midlands, London and southern England.
Hello, Micah. Yeah, because of privacy laws, both school and health officials still will not confirm the diagnosis of leprosy at this school, nor will they say which grade or which class. And that left a lot of the parents here flustered tonight after this meeting. A warning, though, before we roll the videotape, a couple of the images you're about to see may be a little shocking.
They're not answering any questions. They're just being, it doesn't make, it's not right.
A frustrated mom leaves a packed house tonight here at Indian Hills Elementary School in Yoruba Valley. Nearly 400 parents and children were looking for some answers after a letter went home last week warning of 2 possible cases of leprosy at their school.
I can have your attention.
The school superintendent was hoping to calm fears.
I'm hoping that they with more knowledge about Hansen's disease and a much higher comfort level that their kids are safe at school.
And he brought the health department with him to familiarize people with facts about leprosy.
When people cough, sneeze, and you have close contact with those secretions, you could inhale the secretions. It's not highly contagious to others. It's difficult to transmit. It requires close ongoing contact, and it is treatable with antibiotics.
And because of our access to the antibiotics, grotesque images like this from Africa and Asia are just not found in the U.S. But parents here tonight had a lot of questions about those two kids who may have leprosy, or Hansen's disease as it's called. And officials just weren't answering.
There's just the moral obligation to ensure we protect people's confidentiality.
But you understand the frustration that's...
I do.
When Camille Flores shared this image of her son's hand on Facebook, he was already in recovery from a flesh-eating bacteria. His wound was severe.
This happened just from a nick from a helmet from playing football.
She says the infection started on the practice field last week at El Diamante High School. Her son is a freshman and didn't think much of the cut. But within an hour, she says he got sick. He started vomiting, and in the morning, his finger was swollen.
His finger was 10 times the size of his other fingers.
From there, the boy was taken to urgent care, then to the ER, and finally to Valley Children's Hospital, where he was taken into surgery.
When the surgeon came in, she could not believe how severe his finger was. It was discolored. He couldn't feel it. The swelling increased, and the antibiotics were just not working.
Doctors say it was necrotizing fasciitis caused by a strep A infection, and it could have led to amputation or even death.
It's a very uncommon type of infection.
Susie Skadden is the Director of Health Services at Visalia Unified. She says the district was notified by Flores. Letters were sent home to parents about it, and football gear at all of the high schools were wiped clean on Monday.
It's unfortunate that it happened to this child, but we wanted to be sure that what we did also for the safety of all of our athletes, that we took the necessary measures.
Well, Kelly, there are confirmed mumps cases in the Rogers and Springdale school districts, according to the Arkansas Department of Health. Today, we learned that 2 students at Rogers New Technology High School have confirmed cases of the mumps. As of Thursday afternoon, we also know there are 8 confirmed cases of mumps and 25 students who have shown symptoms of the mumps in Springdale School District. And according to the Arkansas Department of Health, there are a total of 22 confirmed mumps cases and 54 people with symptoms. Once a school has a student that starts showing any symptoms, any student at that school who has not been immunized must either go home for up to 26 days, that's a time dictated by the Department of Health, or get their vaccination to ensure they do not spread the virus.
The State Health Department is investigating what caused 5 people to get Legionnaire's disease in Hopkins. The disease is spread by inhaling the fine spray from water sources containing Legionella bacteria.
Legionella bacteria is in natural freshwater environments like lakes and streams. It becomes a problem when it grows and spreads in man-made water systems. Places like air conditioning units made for large buildings, decorative fountains, or even hot tubs that aren't properly drained.
I mean, I've never even heard of Legionnaires.
That's because most people who come in contact with the bacteria don't get the disease. But those over 50 or with other chronic health problems are at greater risk.
And that's concerning. As someone that lives in this area, you want to know what's going on and why people are getting sick.
Bono State is currently on the brink of a humanitarian catastrophe. The United Nations says thousands of people are facing starvation, and the situation is only getting worse. The conflict in the region has aggravated the effects of erratic rainfall and other environmental factors that hamper food production.
Most of our problems are lack of food and water. If you hear someone has died, it's usually from hunger. If you hear someone is sick, it's hunger. Here we get food in a small bowl once a week.
Aid agencies have also reported alarming levels of malnutrition among millions of children in the newly accessible areas in Bono State.
This is the first part of the acute phase where we just keep children that come with some what is called severe acute malnutrition with complications. We admit them here.
The UN warns that unless urgent action is taken, the situation will deteriorate even further. Boko Haram's insurgency in Nigeria has killed at least 20,000 people and left 2.5 million people homeless.
In the largest garbage dump in Latin America, scavengers process about 100 tons of garbage every day. Maria Silva says she's worked here for 10 years and is unable to leave.
It's not that we don't look for jobs, we do, but the doors are closed for us.
Brazil's employment sector is in crisis. 12 million people are unemployed. 1.6 million Brazilians lost their jobs last year.
In the scale of jobs, sifting through garbage is among the lowest, but even the scavengers that work here may lose their jobs. There's a project to shut it down.
Well, the recent showers have done little to make up for the lack of rainfall in western New York all summer.
And today, Governor Andrew Cuomo announced a disaster declaration for 24 counties, with more likely on the way.
Everyone agrees this has been one brutal summer.
This has definitely been one of the driest that I remember and that many of my growers remember, even the older generation.
Governor Cuomo's drought disaster declaration means farmers in the affected counties might be eligible for emergency financial help in the form of low-interest loans. While that may be good news for some especially hard-hit growers, most western New York farmers probably will not take advantage of it. After all, a loan is still a loan, and most farmers we spoke with would rather get through this season than owe more money in the end.
So here's some historical perspective in order to understand just how significant this drought is. The last major drought that affected the state this widely was in 1987, and that affected more east of here, really Syracuse to the Vermont state line. For western New York specifically, though, this is the worst drought since 1963, and that year the southern tier experienced a 15-inch rain deficit.
Since we've had this pond, it has never gone absolutely dry like this.
A situation Ramona Snell and her husband are starting to grow concerned about, especially when they look at one of their ponds currently bone dry.
That's kind of an emotional challenge to see dry, because we don't know how much longer the drought is going to go.
She says many of their crops are doing just fine.
Like later plantings of things that need some water, it's been a little bit of a struggle to get those going.
But hope, like many other farmers in Maine right now, to see more rain in the future.
It's pretty much the same thing, and all the folks that we go to farmers market with will always say, if there's been a little shower, did you get rain last night? And pretty much people are in the same boat.
If I have to choose between Almighty God and Social Security and the federal government, believe you me, Jesus Christ wins out.
That's why this man says he's okay with getting fired after a 14-year career. Good evening. I'm Aaron Bennett.
And I'm Jennifer Roscoe. A Tolono man has hired a lawyer after refusing to watch a workplace training video. David Hall works at the Social Security Administration office in Champaign. He says all employees were told to watch a video about LGBT inclusion, but he claims that violates his religious freedom.
You can't be any more sort of Christian than you can be sort of pregnant.
David Hall has no problem signing his name on a blank piece of paper. His issue is signing something to confirm he's watched a workplace diversity training video on the subject of LGBT customers.
They wanted me to certify that I had completed the training. I'm not going to certify sin. I'm not going to certify an abomination.
Hall works in this office as an IT guy of sorts, so he doesn't deal directly with Social Security patrons. But after refusing to watch the video, he says he was still reprimanded for insubordination, then suspended for 2 days without pay. He says he requested a religious accommodation, but that was denied.
My complaint is more with the fact that it was mandatory. We have never done that for another particular class of people. This is the only group of individuals that we've done it for. We haven't done it for, had mandatory training for veterans, the disabled, blacks, Hispanics, or anything else.
Well, my response to him would probably be quite a lengthy lecture on the historical implications of being queer and accessing social services.
Stephanie Scora is the president of Champaign County's UP Center, an LGBT social services agency. She says she's surprised a training video is behind this.
At first glance, I thought that the man might have been confused and thought that there was depiction of gay activity in the video or something.
I would argue that it's not a training video. It's promoting an agenda and a lifestyle that I simply don't agree with.
ISIL was forced out of Kayara, but following 2 years of rule, not much was left behind. The town seems almost deserted. with destroyed buildings, burned cars, crumbling satellite dishes on the streets. However, the most disturbing sight, a killed ISIL fighter's skull on a stick in the middle of the road. As Iraqi forces clear the area, they find plenty of ammunition as well. Carefully, all is taken to custody. But the ultimate brutality of ISIL can be seen in their prisons. These red doors open to ISIL prison cells that have no windows. It's not possible for an adult to stand up straight, let alone walk within the cell. Residents of the town say many were taken and never heard of again.
If someone says this person is spying, or they say we have received intelligence that you want to flee, and because it's a matter of security, they don't accept any arguments. You don't know where you are going or whether you'll come back. Your family doesn't know where you are. No one knows where you are.
This man tells us he was once a prisoner within these walls.
They arrested me and brought me here because I was selling cigarettes. I was lashed 50 times with a stick as punishment. I stayed in this prison for 12 days. Women walking alone were also punished.
Those who lived under ISIL rule have many stories to tell of street executions, beatings, and rape, all known to be methods used by ISIL. Although the citizens of Qayyarah are relieved to have been freed from ISIL, the impact of being terrorized will likely last for a while longer.
Germany's interior minister has warned of possible terrorist attacks, saying that his country is now home to more than 500 extremists capable of carrying out terrorist attacks. Thomas de Maizière said the terror threat in Germany stems from foreign hit teams as well as homegrown fanatics. Now, he said that police have traced some 360 people for their proximity to potential attackers. The minister added that the country's security agencies are doing everything possible to monitor the threats. He, however, acknowledged difficulty in uncovering, quote, the fanatical lone wolves.
One of the U.S. election's controversial symbols is getting an upgrade. Construction crews on the U.S.-Mexico border are taking down the 13-foot-tall chain-link fence here where El Paso, Texas meets Juarez. And in its place, a nearly 20-foot-tall iron fence. One worker says this decision came from north of the border.
This is a request from the United States, who want to secure the area. They are reinforcing the area, and it culminates in this part.
The current wall covers nearly a third of the almost 2,000-mile border, though Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump wants the wall to cover it entirely.
Moving on now, Iran starts a project to build 2 new units at the Bushehr nuclear power plant. Head of Iran's Atomic Energy Organization Ali Akbar Salehi and Russia's nuclear chief Sergei Kirilenko attended a groundbreaking ceremony in the southern city of Bushehr. The new reactors, which are part of an expansion project, will be constructed with the help of Russia during a 10-year period. It's expected to cost $10 billion. Addressing the event, the nuclear chief said the multi-billion-dollar project shows Iran's nuclear industry is moving forward.
Israeli warplanes have once again hit targets in Syria's Golan Heights. A military spokeswoman said Israeli Air Force pounded positions held by the Syrian army in the region. Airstrikes were reportedly conducted after an errant projectile was fired into Israeli-occupied Golan. The mortar left no damage or injuries as a third such incident this week. Also killed a number of senior Hezbollah commanders in similar attacks in 2015.